Not a matter of if, but when crisis will rock your world. I'm Roshini Rajkumar, licensed attorney, crisis strategist, and host of The Crisis Files. In each case file, we explore a hot topic, often bringing in insiders who take us right into the action. Today, that insider is Paul Funk. He is a retired four-star general in the United States Army. He has more than 60 months of combat duty, serving 1 tour in Afghanistan and 5 tours in Iraq for Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and Combined Joint Force Inherent Resolve. Now he helps civilian leaders drive results as CEO of Team Funk. General Funk is here for the case file I call About Face. General, you have seen the evolution of the U.S. military and how it matters on many levels. But headlines don't always help us understand why the U.S. military does what it does.
Yeah, well, Roshini, first of all, thanks for having me again. And this is a great treat for me because I'm incredibly proud of the U.S. military. And we are in a period of time in the in-between war years, as it were, or in competition phase with other state actors. And it is time now to modernize our systems. Technology is moving at such an alarming pace that we have to be in front of it. We have got to be the force that actually can fight and win with today's technology and be ready to use next generation technology as soon as it's available, because we are a global leader and we've got to be ready, because our adversaries are looking for points of weakness.
When you talk about being a global leader, that's so true. And I think of news of the last few years, even the last few months, where whenever it looks like the United States is retreating or pulling back or doesn't want to help protect another country, even if it's a war we are not part of, everyone seems to just go a little crazy around that, General.
Yeah, they do. Well, I mean, if you look at the elements of national power, and diplomatic, informational, military, and economic, if you look at those, you compete in all those phases. So when you're competing, people are going to look for, what do they look for? They look for flaws in the system. They look for contentious issues. They try to focus you away from the matters at hand, and all of those occur. Diplomatically, they challenge you across the globe, whether it be in access to ports or access into free shipping lanes, whatever it is. Informationally, we know that there's been misinformation and disinformation from state actors put into our systems. We know that. Militarily, it's about who has the ability to place their will, the will of their nation, against someone else. And then economically, you see that playing out every day, right? With the tariffs and what's going on now. So we are in, some would say, crisis. And that's why this is a good time to be here.
Yeah, it's a good time to talk about it and also understand what it means for the military to be that global power, the United States military, and then what's also going on inside of the military itself. So you have taught me, this is now your third time on the Crisis Files, you've taught me so much about the forces in general, the U.S. Army in particular, and you were saying how the military, you've taught me that the military was really redesigned after Vietnam. What do you mean by that? And a lot of our listeners weren't even alive, right, including me, during Vietnam. I was maybe a toddler.
Yes, and I think I was 8 years old. So there are all those facets. But what happens is we have a system, at least in the U.S. Army, but really all of the services too. And they look at our doctrine, our organization, our training, our leader development, our material, and then our facilities. And we call it DOTLM PF for short. But really, we look at all those things. So what happened coming out of Vietnam, we looked critically at our force and then designed that force. And that force became the force that actually won America's most our best first battle, which was Desert Shield and Desert Storm. That force came out of the ashes of what the Vietnam experience. And those folks organized around doctrine, organizations. For example, that's where the special ops forces came from. That's where we got the Bradley, the tank. In the Army, we got the Bradley, the tank, the Paladin, to just name a few of the systems. We developed the combat training centers coming out of that part of the fight. And then we professionalized our non-commissioned officer corps and our officer corps through what we call non-commissioned education system, or NCOES, and the officer education system, OES. And from those courses, we began to really dive into the development of our leaders at echelon across the force. The secret to all of this was the after-action review. From that, we learned, and we start with what happened was, and then we go to what I failed to do was normally, because you want to make your mistakes in training, not in combat, right? That's what has professionalized the American fighting force, is our ability to look at ourselves critically, and then from there, make the necessary adjustments to whatever of those things I laid out, doctrine or organization or training, whichever, make those necessary adjustments so that the next time we do it, we find another piece to work on, as opposed to relearning the same lessons in and out all the time.
So continuing to get better. I mean, that process.
It's a process of continual improvement. Yes.
Improvement.
That's right. Continuous improvement.
My guess is, in your current world with civilians, you're teaching leaders all over the country and the globe that same concept. One of my favorite lines from you, as we were getting ready to talk, you said we should never let the political situation in the nation dictate how we treat the troops. So as you've just described, there was a major change, a major redesign, reorg of the military after Vietnam. Mm-hmm. It brought us those special forces, which is a fun fact. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And you're continually trying to improve. So these are the men and women of the U.S. military that are protecting all other U.S. citizens as well as non-citizens all the time. So I understand we can't ever be critical, or, for good reason, just as being a member. Of course, if they do bad behavior, we can be critical.
Yes,
but
exactly.
we need to separate political and politics from these are real people, real Americans fighting for the rest of us.
I couldn't have said that better. That's absolutely correct. We don't look. The U.S. military is designed to be apolitical. It's designed to do the nation's bidding. It's designed to do what we as citizens ask it to do. So we need to always remember that. We don't send ourselves to war. Frankly, those are acts of the Congress and the leaders in Washington, D.C. and around the globe. And so we don't do that. The other part is we don't go to war without our allies and partners. So we need to remember that as well. There are 1,000 reasons that we need coalitions to fight. To name but a few, I had 72-nation coalition in Iraq and Syria. 72 nations designed to fight ISIS. And it took all of us working in concert to end that fight. And frankly, I'm proud of what we did in Iraq and Syria, because we let them we showed them that we were not going to succumb to a terrorist state.
And I can just imagine all the translation that needs to go on, language, basically, just with language, when 72 nations come together, let alone military judgment, style, all of that, leadership process.
Yep.
Previously, we talked with you during season 2, and in case file number 87, Fit to Serve, we talked about the real crisis that was military recruitment.
Yes.
Here we are, case file number 149, about face, all this time later. Are we still in crisis level when it comes to recruitment?
Here's what I'll tell you. The military is doing great in recruiting. Here's where I'll tell you, however, we are still in crisis. Our nation is in crisis because this generation that is starting to serve has some issues that we must work our way through. One is obesity. That is an issue across the nation. What have the services done to kind of work combat that? That's what we do, right? So to combat that, what we really do, we started the Future Soldier Prep course. That's what we call it in the Army. The other services have something similar. And we use nutritionists and physical therapists, and we use physical, mental, spiritual, sleep, and nutrition to attack this issue so that these kids who want to serve can have are afforded the opportunity. We call it the H2F program. And frankly, it's making a huge difference. It's been making a huge difference now for about 2.5 years. For a really, really remarkable program.
Well, it really does make my heart sing to hear 60-some episodes later since we spoke with you about that crisis, that there has at least been some movement of that needle, and we still have some issues, as you say, but it's good to hear recruitment numbers are up and people think about what that means to serve our country in this way. When we are thinking about threats now, and I've talked about this with you, I've talked about it with retired Admiral John Meyer, the mental state of the military is so important, mental health, wellness, because the threats are so pervasive. The threats are 24/7. There's not like a 9-to-5 job when you're at war, or even not at war, but just scanning for threats. Give us some insight into that from your position, because you really are on the inside of this stuff.
Well, what I'm seeing that we're attacking with these issues in the mental health arena, we're working towards resiliency. We're working towards those that need that have mental health issues. We're getting them the proper treatment and training. I'm doing some work outside of the military, but for the military in the mental health arena, we're using different techniques and different things. There's a program called Katie's Way that is actually attacking this through using multiple treatment. What the heck do I call them? It's multiple treatment modes, for lack of a better word, from
kind of a combination of different modalities.
It's what fits best for the individual, right? To include a revolutionary treatment called deep transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is basically, it maps your neural pathways, it finds the points of friction and begins to build pathways around those points of friction. Works very well for people that get diagnosed with certain things, and it helps them without drugs, without anything else. There's a series about 6 weeks of treatment, but it actually has a good success rate, which I'm proud of. We have to continue to work for innovative and smart ways to address this issue, because we need men and women to serve. And if in fact they have a mental health challenge, we need to help them. I mean, I can't. There's a talk about stigma and things like that. We just got to get over that, right? We should be treating the mental health of our troopers just like we do the dental health of our troopers. They should be going in. They get a checkup. They talk to the doc. The doc says yes, good to go, or hey, here's a couple of things that I can help you with in terms of resiliency, and we'll see you in 6 months. Or if you need to come back sooner, then we'll do that too. But that's
right,
kind of what
and
we
like
should
the
be
no
doing.
stigma and the no shame.
Yeah, just make it part of the routine.
Right, and I think there has been some breakthroughs in that, right?
Yeah,
I think
there is.
Still there's stigma, especially because military members are known for being tough. They've got to be tough.
That's right.
I love to hear about the cranial stimulation with no drugs, because we obviously,
it's just magnets.
We don't want war fighters on drugs of any kind, even if they're prescribed drugs.
That's right. And I mean that we all would like to be able to have that issue. Sometimes we need help, and if we need help and it's through a drug process, then as long as it's monitored and done responsibly, then okay, let's do it. But let's get the help. Let's not worry about how. Let's get it done.
General, what brings you hope that you can share with us when it comes to the modern military of the United States?
What brings me hope is there's still these great young men and women who are willing to serve, and frankly, it almost moves me to tears, because what happens there is these young men and women sign up and say, "Yes, send me," and I am willing to give the last full measure of devotion, which is my life, in support of our people, our way of life, and what it means to be an American. That to me is the ultimate sacrifice. And it's also part of being the greatest team ever assembled. It is, in fact, that uniform, whichever service you're in, those uniforms mean two things around the globe: hope and fear. And they're hope for our allies, our friends, the downtrodden, those that need a helping hand, those that need somebody to get rid of a despot, those who actually are being held down. And then it's fear to our adversaries. They know when we hit the field that we will have the most modern technology. We will have worked day and night to make sure that those young men and women, when they cross that line of departure, they have the absolute best thing that the American people can provide them. That's the commitment. And they know if they're hurt, wounded, or hurt, or scared, they know we'll come for them. They know we will move heaven and earth for one person. That's the nature of this great nation of ours. That gives me hope every day.
Well, that is a great note to wind down on. Thank you so much, General. To connect directly with this U.S. hero, go to team-funk.com. That's team-funk.com. Best of wishes to you and all the work that you're doing and teaching that kind of teamwork and loyalty and continual improvement all over the globe, General. Just an honor to have you back on the Crisis Files. You can catch case file number 87 as well as number 97, Fundamental Attention. So more General Funk on the Crisis Files and on teamfunk.com. Today's case file is powered by Comcast. The Xfinity network is Comcast's next-generation broadband network. It delivers better reliability, increased capacity, low latency, and multi-gig speeds, all to power the rapid rise in internet consumption today and in the future. Find out more about the Comcast connection at corporate.comcast.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to The Crisis Files on your platform of choice. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram at The Crisis Files. Go to thecrisisfiles.com to check out all 3 seasons in our library of case files. I'm Roshini Rajkumar. Join me next time on The Crisis Files.